Welcome students. So in the last class we have studied about the reactivity of group 16 elements with hydrogen and then with the oxygen. Now let's move further and see the reactivity of halogens with the group 16 elements. So they will form halides with the group 16 elements, and which kinds of halides has been formed out there, and what is the stability of the halides which are formed out here. So here we will see that generally EX6, EX4 and EX2. These are the general formula of the halides which are formed with the group 16 elements, where X are the halogens. And the stability for the halogens here is that fluorine will be highly stable as comparison to that of the chlorine, as comparison to that of the bromine, and iodine will be the least stable when they are forming compounds with that of the group 16 elements. So the types of compounds which will be formed out by group 16 elements here, it will be monohalides, monohalides, dihalides, tetrahalides, and the last is hexahalides. So the monohalides for oxygen, O2F2, it can form full sulfur, S2F2 they can form, S2Cl2 they can form, okay, S2Br2 they can also form, and S2Br2 is the last one which they can form. Okay, S2Br2 they can form. Sorry, S2Br2. Selenium also can form SeCl2, SeBr2, Se2Br2. While tellurium and polonium does not form the monohalides. Dihalides can be formed by oxygen OF2, Cl2O, okay, and Br2O. While sulfur can form dihalides such as SF2, SCl2, selenium does not form any dihalides, while tellurium can form dihalides such as TeCl2, TeBr2, and polonium also same, PoCl2 and PoBr2 can be formed out by them. For tetrahalides, oxygen does not form any tetrahalides or hexahalides, but sulfur forms tetrahalides like SF4, SFC, SCl2, and SF6, hexahalides of sulfur. Selenium can form SeF4, SeCl4, SeBr4, and selenium can also form hexahalides with fluorine. While tellurium can also form hexahalides from fluorine with fluorine, and they can also form tetrahalides such as TeF4, TeCl4, TeBr4, and also they can form TeI4 also, TeI4. Similarly, polonium can also form PoCl4, PoBr4, and PoI4, polonium tetraiodide, while they does not form any hexafluorides or hexahalides there. Okay, polonium does not form any hexahalides. Now let's talk about the structure. So for monohalides such as S2O2, the structure will be something like this. Okay, here the sulfur will be compounded with each other with 104 degree here, and the bond length of sulfur and oxygen here, it will be 199 pm, and the bond length for the sulfur and sulfur here, it will be 205 pm. Next, this is a structure for not S2O2, sorry, this is for H2Cl2. We are talking about the halides. Okay, so the monohalide of sulfur. This is monohalide of sulfur. Next is the Dihalide. Dihalide. This was the monohalide, and next is the structure for dihalide. So for dihalide, I am taking an example of SCl2. So S with one lone pair and other lone pair. One Cl and the other Cl here, having an angle of 103 degree. Okay, this is the dihalide structure here. Bend shape will be there, but with the two lone pairs here. Okay, next is the SF4 tetrahalide. Okay, so sulfur with one lone pair of its and four fluorines will attach to them like this. Okay, here the angle will be 173 degree. The bond length between sulfur and fluorine, it will be 155 picometer, and the bond length of the perpendicular bond length here, it will be 165 picometer for sulfur and fluorine. Next is your H2F10, the pentahalides, which is formed by sulfur only, and that is also a very very special compound. H2F10, here four fluorine atoms will be connected to this sulfur, one sulfur, okay, forming a square planar shape, and then that particular sulfur will be attached to other sulfur, which again is connected to four planar, square planar fluorines, and one fluorines at their extreme ends. So this is the structure for your H2F10. The last is the hexahalides, that is SF6. Hexahalides SF6, they are having octagonal structure. Okay, they are having octagonal structure, square on a plane, one fluorine above like this and one fluorine below. This is the square plane where four fluorine atoms are attached to the central sulfur atom, and similarly two fluorine atoms, one at the above and one at below like this. So this is the octahedral structure for your hexahalides. Next is the chemistry of oxygen and their compounds. Let's talk about the chemistry of oxygen and its compound. The compounds of oxygen. What is the chemistry of this particular element, oxygen here, and the compounds which are formed with the oxygen? So first, dioxygen. Let's talk about dioxygen. Dioxygen means O2. So how to prepare dioxygen? We can easily prepare dioxygen by KMnO4, potassium permanganate, or by potassium chlorate. Okay, potassium chlorate or potassium permanganate can be decomposed to form, they can be easily decomposed to form, thermally decomposed. Okay, how we will decompose them? We will thermally decompose them to form the dioxygen here. Okay, on thermal decomposition here of KMnO4, dioxygen will be released out here, and the temperature here, it will be 420 Kelvin. Similarly, for potassium chlorate also, on heating the particular potassium chlorate, we will get that 2 KCl and 3 O2 will be released out here. Also, potassium nitrate will thermally decompose to make potassium nitrite and oxygen. Okay, dioxygen will be formed out. Also by heating the peroxides. Okay, also by heating the peroxide. The next method is by heating dioxide, heating dioxides, peroxides, and higher oxides also, we can prepare this particular dioxygen. So taking an example here for mercuric oxide. On heating mercuric oxide, decomposition will occur here and dioxygen will be released out as gas. Also, silver oxide when decomposed on heating will produce dioxygen with silver solid. PbO3, Pb3O4, lead oxide will also on heating will decompose to lead oxide and oxygen gas will be released out. Lead dioxide will also decompose to lead and lead oxide and oxygen dioxygen to form dioxygen. Okay, so these are some of the methods to heat the peroxides or dioxides to form the dioxygen here. Okay, preparing dioxygen from hydrogen peroxide. So how we can prepare dioxygen from hydrogen peroxide? So when aqueous solution of hydrogen peroxide is taken, it readily decomposes there. It will readily decompose itself into water and dioxygen. So it is also a very good source of producing the dioxygen. Next, the laboratory method for the preparation of dihydrogen. So in laboratory, potassium chlorate can be heated till 420 Kelvin with MnO2, magnesium oxide, to produce potassium chloride, potassium chloride and dioxygen. So these are some of the methods to prepare the dioxygens. What are the properties of dioxygens? Okay, so let's talk about the properties of dioxygens, and in that first we are going to discuss about the physical properties of dioxygen. What are the physical properties for the dioxygen? So number one, it is a colorless, it is a colorless, odorless and tasteless gas, and tasteless gas, slightly soluble in water, slightly soluble in water, and its solubility is just sufficient for the aquatic animals life. Okay, for the aquatic animals and plants life. It can be liquefied into pale yellow liquid. It can be liquefied to a pale yellow liquid under high pressure. Okay, under very high pressure it can be easily liquefied to pale yellow liquid. The boiling point for oxygen is 90.2 Kelvin. The three stable isotopes which are stable for oxygen, okay, isotopes which are stable for oxygen are oxygen 16, oxygen 17 and oxygen 18. These are the three isotopes of the oxygen which are stable. Next, the chemical properties of oxygen. Chemical properties of dioxygen. So the dioxygen is quite stable in nature and its bond dissociation enthalpy is also very high. Okay, it does not generally decompose into its singular form because the bond dissociation enthalpy is 493.4 kilojoule per mole. Okay, this is the bond association enthalpy here. How it will act with litmus? Action with litmus. How they will act with litmus? Like dihydrogen, it is also neutral. Okay, like dihydrogen only, they are neutral. They are neutral. Second, dioxygen is very combustile, highly combustile. It is highly combustile in nature. But itself is not combustible. It will support other to burn, but itself it will not burn. Okay, it will support other substances to burn readily, but itself it will not burn there. Okay, its reaction with metal. Okay, let's talk about the reaction of dioxygen with metals. So reaction with metals. So generally oxygen reacts readily with the metals to form metal oxides. Okay, and especially with the reactive metals such as sodium, calcium, they will readily attach with them to form oxides of the metal. Next, reaction with non-metals. Reaction. Also, the formula for the metallic compounds which can be formed here as oxides are M2O, MO, M2O3. Okay, these are some of the examples you can see as the formation of oxides. Okay, they does not react with gold or platinum, noble metals. They does not react and does not form any oxides there. Reaction with non-metals. How the dioxygen will react with non-metals. So dioxide generally reacts with hydrogen and at high temperature of 1073 Kelvin and electric discharge will produce water molecule. They will combine with nitrogen also. Dioxygen will combine with nitrogen and will produce nitric oxide, will combine with sulfur on heating to produce sulfur dioxide, will combine with carbon. Heating of coal is a good example for producing carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. Okay, both can be produced out here. Carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide, both can be produced out here. Okay, but carbon monoxide will produce when two molecules of carbon is reacting with O2. Then carbon monoxide will be produced. But if single molecule of carbon is reacting with dioxygen here, then carbon dioxide will be produced out. Also, pentoxides with phosphorus like substance can also be formed out. When white phosphorus is reacted with oxygen, dioxygen, then phosphorus pentoxides is also formed out there. Okay, so these are some of the oxides which are formed with the non-metals with the dihydrogen. What are the uses of the dihydrogen? Okay, so what are the uses of dihydrogen? Sorry, not dihydrogen. What are the uses of dioxygen? Dioxygen. Number one, used in oxyhydrogen and oxyacetylene welding. Hydrogen gas is used, oxygen gas is used in oxyhydrogen and oxyacetylene torches for welding or cutting of metals. Used in metallurgical processes. Used in metallurgical processes to remove impurities. To remove impurities there. Okay. Of the metals and non-metals by oxidation process. Essentially used as life support system in hospitals. Also oxygen tanks are carried out by deep water swimmers and persons climbing very high mountains. Okay, so these are some of the uses which are being proposed as uses of dioxygen. Also, liquid oxygen is used as fuel. Which fuel? Rocket fuel. It has been used as rocket fuel. Okay, it is used as oxidizing and bleaching agent. Used as oxidizing and bleaching agent. Liquid O2 is also used as explosive. Also used as explosive in mining process. Also, the isotope of oxygen, that is oxygen 18, is used as tracer for for study of reaction mechanisms. For study of reaction mechanisms. Also used for preparing other compounds also. Okay, in a very large scale for preparing other compounds also we are using the dioxygen there. Next are the next compounds of oxygen, that are oxides of oxygen. What are their properties, how they are behaving. Okay, so first let's talk about the simple oxides. The simple oxides. In simple oxides, three oxides can be taken. First is the acidic oxides. Acidic oxides. So the non-metal oxides are generally acidic in nature. Non-metal oxides, they are generally acidic in nature. Okay. For example, SO2 when reacted with water will form sulfurous acid. SO3 when reacted with water will form H2SO4. Okay, so we will see here that the non-metallic oxides are generally forming acids with the water. Okay, so hence we will say that the non-metallic oxides are having what? they are having the acidic nature there. Okay, they are possessing the acidic nature. 6H2O, 4H3PO4. Okay, it will be found out here, and here I have wrong thing. Here it will be H2CO3. Carbonic acid will be formed out here. Okay, so these are some of the examples for the non-metallic oxides which are behaving as acidic. The second are the basic oxides. Basic oxides. So the metal oxides are basic in nature. Metal oxides are basic in nature, such as Na2O, when treated with water, will produce sodium hydroxide. Okay, it will produce sodium hydroxide. MgO, when treated with water, will produce magnesium hydroxide. It will produce magnesium hydroxide. Okay, similarly, when ferrous oxide reacted with water, it will produce ferric hydroxide. Okay, also Na2O when treated with acids also. So due to this reason, when treated with acid also, neutralization reaction will take place and salts will be formed out here, which also proves that the metallic oxides are basic in nature. When they are treated with acids, okay, so they shows what they shows the neutralization reaction, and salt formation takes place there. Salt formation takes place there, and due to this reason we can term that the metallic oxides are what they are generally basic oxides. The third oxides in the simple oxides are amphoteric oxides. Amphoteric oxides. So the oxides which does not show any acidic or basic behavior, they are termed as amphoteric oxides. So generally the p block metals, okay, the p block metals, they are amphoteric in nature. Okay, they are amphoteric in nature, such as aluminium oxide. Okay, when it is treated with aqueous acids, then due to their amphoteric nature, they will form complexes. Complex ions will be formed by them. Okay, but they does not show any basic or acidic nature. Okay, so they will show basic and acidic nature as depending on the compound which they are reacting. If we are reacting the aluminium oxide with acids here, then they will show basic nature. Okay, they will act as basic here. While if we are reacting aluminium oxide with bases such as NaOH, caustic soda, okay, NaOH, then they will show their acidic nature and they will form complex salts there. They will form complex salts. Okay, they will form complex salts. Next is the neutral salts. The neutral salts. Sorry, the neutral oxides, not the neutral salts, the neutral oxides. In the simple oxides, the neutral oxides. So in neutral oxides, we will see that some of the non-metals forming neutral oxides such as N2O, CO, NO, they are the neutral oxides. They are neither acidic nor basic in nature. Next are the mixed oxides. Okay, mixed oxides. So the metal oxides which consist two simple oxides in their simple oxidation state, okay, or the oxygen which are combined to the metals in their two or more oxidation state, then they are termed as mixed oxides. For example, Fe3O4. Here we will see that Fe2O3 is also present and FeO is also present here. Okay, similarly, Pb3O4 is also an example where two different oxides of lead is there, that is PbO, lead oxide, and Pb2O3. Okay, so this type of oxides are termed as mixed oxide. They are not simple oxide. They are the mixture of two or more oxides. Okay, so these were the trends or the chemical properties of the oxides which are formed by your oxygen. Next is the ozone. Ozone, that is O3, one of the important allotrope of oxygen. Okay, it is the gaseous allotropic form of oxygen. How we can prepare ozone? The preparation of ozone can be done when three dioxygen molecules are passed through silent electric discharge. Okay, they are passed through silent electric discharge. Then the formation of ozonizer will take place. The formation of ozone gas will take place, and the apparatus through which we are producing this ozone, that particular apparatus is termed as ozonizer. Here the formation heat is 142.7 kilojoule per mole. Okay, the formation of heat for ozone, it is 142.7 kilojoule per mole. What are the physical properties of ozone? It is a pale blue. Physical properties of ozone. Physical property of ozone. Pale blue gas with pungent odor. Okay, it is having pungent odor, while we have seen that dioxygen is odorless and tasteless gas, while the ozone is a pale blue colored pungent smell gas. It is heavier than air. Its vapor density, is 24, and while that of air's vapor density it is only 14.4. The boiling point for ozone, it is 385 Kelvin, and the melting point for ozone, it is 24 Kelvin. Very slightly soluble in water. Okay, it is very slightly soluble in water, and more soluble. It is highly soluble in organic solvents. Highly soluble in organic solvents. It is paramagnetic in nature. Okay, we have seen that O2 is paramagnetic. O2 is paramagnetic, but O3 is dimagnetic. Okay, it is dimagnetic. Ozone's chemical properties. Chemical properties of ozone. So ozone is neutral. It is also neutral to litmus paper. Okay, means it is neither acidic nor basic in nature. The ozone can decompose at very high temperature of 475 Kelvin into dioxygen. Okay, where the heat of formation will be minus 285.4 kilojoule. It is a very good oxidizing agent. It is a very good oxidizing agent. Okay, because on decomposition it produces O2 there, so hence it acts as a very good oxidizing agent. Next, it is a very good bleaching agent also. Okay, it is a very good bleaching agent also. It will act as a very good bleaching agent also. and due to this reason they are used for vegetable coloring matter to form the oxidized color matter. Okay, oxidized color matter has been formed out by using ozone. They forms ozonides. Okay, ozonides are formed, which are helpful for producing some of the organic compounds. For example, when ethene is treated with ozone in the presence of carbon tetrachloride, ethylene ozonide is been formed out there. Okay, we will form ethylene ozonide. Similarly, with triple bond also it forms the ozonides there. Okay, it reacts with peroxides. It reacts with peroxides to give dioxygen. Water molecule and dioxygen is been produced out. What is the structure for ozone? So the structure for ozone, it is having a conjugating structure. One oxygen with a lone pair and a positive charge is bonded with two other oxygens having two lone pairs, while one oxygen is having a coordinate bond with that particular oxygen. And due to this coordinate bond only, the central oxygen atom will be having a positive charge. Here, the negative charge will be possessed out by the one of the single bonded oxygen atom. So what will happen? This particular negative charge or the negative pair of electrons will be donated here, and due to this reason the structure of this oxygen ozone will change, and the double bond will come to this particular oxygen atom positive, and this particular bond will be donated to the other oxygen atom to form a single bond like this, and the negative charge will then be obtained by the other oxygen. Okay, so here by using this particular funda we can make a resonating structure here of ozone like this. Okay, so this is the resonating structure of the ozone. So where we are using ozone, what is the use of ozone? Use of ozone. So number one, as an disinfectant, disinfectant and sterilizing agent for water. Sterilizing agent for water. It is used as bleaching also. Okay, for bleaching agent also, as a bleaching agent. For starch, ivory, oils and all these things, so it is been used as bleaching agent there. For purifying air, for purifying air also, we can use oxygen, ozone there. It is used in industries, used in industries for preparing KMNO4, for preparing potassium permanganate. Okay, for potassium permanganate, also for making artificial silk, artificial silk, synthetic camphor. Okay, synthetic camphor also, it is been prepared by using this particular ozone only. So these are some of the uses of the ozone. So for today I am concluding our class here only. In the next class we are going to discuss about the compounds of the sulfur. Okay, so be attentive and thank you for watching this particular video.